Thanks, Max. That was great. So we're continuing our trend of innovation, and we're going to set up for yet another exciting sales panel of sales leaders. We're going to get them up here to continue that conversation. I've got a little bit of housekeeping. If you can bear with me for about a minute here, 30 seconds, and then we'll bring up our next set of speakers. So let's talk about some fun things we have going on this afternoon. Ariana Huffington, our closing keynote. That's going to be amazing this afternoon, and she's doing a book signing at 5 o'clock. So if you're interested in Ariana Huffington signing a book for you, we have what we call a bookstore, and it's out in the expo. You'll notice it right towards the front, and you'll be able to see all the books there, get the books, and you'll be able to have a book signed. So make sure you put that on your calendar, because I don't think that was actually in part of the agenda, so that's great. We also have this afternoon a demo jam, and if you were here this afternoon for your lunchtime entertainment, you know it was tons of fun. So the demo jam is 6 companies that are AppExchange partners that are here today, and they come up on stage, and it's different than the lunchtime crew, so it's a whole different crew, and they each have 3 minutes on the timer to do a demo. At the end of all 6 demos, you, as the audience, get to vote for which one you thought was the best, and they win a prize. So lots of fun. You get to see all these technologies, but what it really means is you get a chance to see, we're having these great conversations about leveraging technology. You get to see that technology yourself to be able to understand what might be beneficial for your company and what would be able to help you be more productive and be more smart about that. So make sure you spend time with us this afternoon at 2:35 for the demo jam. So this afternoon is our final session on the breakout session. We're focusing on technology. This morning we had some great panels on customer success. Tomorrow we have some on sales development. We also have some on sales leadership tomorrow too, driving a culture for success. But in talking about technology, what we want to focus on is what apps you should be thinking about to help your reps sell smarter and sell faster. Earlier today, I talked about how there's so many apps out there today. In the AppExchange alone, there's 2,800. I made a joke about in my early days, all I had was my BlackBerry, my landline, and I had some CRM technology. So we've been talking a lot about which technologies you should use, and what we're going to hear this afternoon in this panel is we're going to hear from sales leaders about how they're using it in the sales process, right? They go through the sales stages, and how do they employ that in every single stage? Our panel is going to consist of customers from small companies to large companies to show also how we can leverage technologies for companies of any size to be successful, making sure that you're leveraging the sales stack for 2016 to drive success, and as Max said, don't get left behind. So our leader for this next panel is a gentleman, Greg Poirier. He's the president of CloudKettle. He's going to be our moderator and share these technologies with us. So Greg, I think Greg's ready. We can bring Greg on out to kick things off. And when Greg comes out, we'll make sure that we introduce everybody on the panel to share that as well. One of the persons on the channel is from my company, Salesforce, so it'll be interesting for me to see what she talks about, because having come from the sales organization myself, it'll be interesting to hear her thoughts and how she uses it and leverages it in her company as well. So our session today, the signs up there, Make It Rain. Sales leaders share apps that drive results. Greg Poirier, come on out and let's give him a warm welcome. There we go. It's quite a long walk. It's like walking down the red carpet. Greg, welcome.
Hi, how are you?
Great, thanks a lot. Guys, good luck. Thanks.
Need 450 licenses of your time and expense suite. And the time and expense suite is because they have a lot of people.
Okay, are we ready to go?
They have a lot of people who want to submit
Okay.
expense reports.
So today we're going to be talking about apps, essentially, that you can use to make your sales teams or sales processes more efficient. We've got a pretty good selection, and they're very cozy. One person could have sat over there, but I like that you guys all chose to sit together. We've got.
Should we go over there?
Yeah, go for it.
No, I like this. I think this is going to be way better.
Good. Right.
So we've got a variety of people here, from Fortune 500 down to more of a, not necessarily startup, but definitely earlier stage or smaller organization, varying team sizes. So you would have the largest team, I think. What would be the total sales team at Salesforce, do you think? Not under you, but as an organization.
Over 5,000.
Yeah, and you guys might be the smallest?
We've got 30 maybe?
30, yeah.
48.
48?
Yeah.
140.
Okay. That's
so
big.
I know for sure by clicking on edit.
So, starting, oh, thank you. Okay, so our panelists today, we have Richard Ortega, VP Global Inside Sales at Shutterstock, and you've been with them 6 years. It's been a while now, right?
Yep, actually it's 4 years, but
4 years?
feels like 6.
Kevin Coate, you're with Namely. And my favorite story about you is that I love Kevin because he is one of the only people I've met who puts cold calling front and center on his LinkedIn profile as a skill. And you told me earlier that you actually got a job recently with a cold call?
Basically, yeah.
Basically? That's impressive. I like that. That's good hustle for a sales guy.
Yeah.
Okay, and we have Stephanie Glenn, VP of Commercial Sales at Salesforce. You handle SMB teams for high tech, I think, and
Everything but financial services and healthcare.
Okay,
so,
okay, perfect.
everything.
Okay, and then we have not John.
I'm not John.
So yeah, apparently that slide didn't get updated. So we have Jeremiah, and Jeremiah's with VTS. I don't think I can do VTS justice, and it wouldn't be familiar to the people here. So do you want to say what they do very quickly?
Yeah, commercial. It's a commercial real estate software leasing and asset management platform to help owners and brokers more efficiently track the health and performance of their assets.
So pretty long, complex sales cycle.
Yeah, pretty big sales cycle, but bringing lots of efficiencies to a space that never really had any kind of technology really applied to it.
Okay, perfect. So let's start off. We'll start with you. So how do apps help you boost your sales team's productivity?
I think that apps are part of everyone's day-to-day life, right? Whether from their phone or from inside of their Salesforce installation. But I think the goal of any kind of great application and the way that we try to boost productivity is kind of eliminate those those mundane tasks that you need to complete on a day-to-day basis. I think there's a lot of fun in sales, right? And I think a lot of people got into sales to have fun, have autonomy, and talk to customers and prospect people and go to big meetings. But there's all the other things that happen along with sales, right? That sales operations kind of dictates that you need to have, and so does your VP of sales. And we at VTS use a few different tools to help automate things like email, logging emails into Salesforce, basic things like logging calls, and even automating where you get your templates or your collateral from.
Your salespeople don't get excited about updating records in Salesforce?
No, not at all.
I find that hard to believe.
Yeah.
How about you?
So I think for us, it's really about sort of that end-to-end process. So if you can sort of automate that process from lead all the way through cash, which you're going to use multiple apps to do in the life cycle, and sort of start with the business process in mind, and then map back to leveraging things like the App Exchange to really then pick best-of-breed products. And for us at Salesforce, that's sort of how we innately use the platform, sort of from start to finish. So I think it's that integrated experience so that people don't have to toggle between multiple systems. Leverage, we were talking about, the old days of like Excel and PDF proposals, and that integrated experience, which then really allows people to both have the visibility and hopefully have the ease.
Cool. I'll jump in. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think there's two sides for boosting productivity at Namely. There's the SDR side of things, getting the leads in the door, and then there's the AE side of things. And I think the key on the one side is efficiencies around time, accurately getting done as much activities as possible. And Jeremiah sort of touched on this. Our SDRs use SalesLoft in that capacity. And then for the AEs, it's a little bit different. It's more around knowledge and trying to get information and use apps to get information from prospects, hopefully soon to be clients, that they aren't necessarily giving you willingly. So we use tools that let us know when they're checking emails, how much time they spent on an email, how much time they spend on the marketing collateral that we sent, what they're looking at specifically in that collateral so that I can position my follow-up, the timing for it, and what we're going to focus on accordingly. So just giving me that knowledge for AEs and then efficiencies in time for the SDRs.
Yeah, I like that separation of, where the value is generated on the SDR side is how many seconds can you save per contact, whereas it's a more strategic higher level, especially some of you guys you're closing on pretty big size sales, and it's not necessarily shaving a couple seconds off the phone call for a sales rep closing a $250,000 deal, ideally. How about you, Richard?
Yeah, for us it's a little bit more transactional, so we're thinking about volumes. And so when I think about productivity in apps, I'm thinking about constraints and qualifiers. I'm trying to hunt out constraints that are keeping my teams from being the most productive that they can be. But more importantly, I need to know that it is a constraint to begin with. And I do that by qualifying the data that I've found out in this app. And I'm comparing that data to another time frame or another cohort, whatever it may be, maybe both, so that I can then go ahead and make a recommendation to the business about scaling the organization or repurposing a part of the organization or bringing on a new app that can take out some of the complexity that you're talking about. So the team can focus on the things where they can shine, show themselves to be special people, engaging in unique conversations with their customers, and then ultimately find the fun in it so that they don't have to worry about all those things I just said.
Okay, good answer. I like it. Okay, so tell us about your favorite app.
So yeah, my favorite app is actually not terribly sexy. It's not something that sits on the front end that everyone thinks about. It's called Distribution Engine. The thing about Distribution Engine is that it's super robust. And in the end, what it allows us to do is route all kinds of Salesforce objects based on many different rules. And in the end, routing ops and leads and cases and contacts, not just once, but twice or 3 times, and not just within the sales organization, but between multiple departments, it gives us the ability to actually create more complexity, but it gives us the ability to find some nuance in when we talk to a customer and with what channel. It gives us the ability to get very specific on who gets to talk to which customer at which time, and also during the life cycle of that customer so that it's the right time. That app has been something we've used for a few years now, and it's helped us to scale our organization, and now we're expanding our usage of that to take into account marketing, to take into account finance and legal as well.
Very nice, very nice. You, sir?
So similar to Richard, mine's not the sexiest one either. Steelbrick, it's a CPQ software. We're actually going through the implementation process right now. I would lie to you and say it's a lot of fun. Sorry, Salesforce people, the implementation has been fun. But it's my favorite because at this point in Namely, we are reaching that stage of needing and craving for controls and standardization around the process of taking, what buyers are looking for, and then not only just saying, okay, here's what it costs, but putting standardization around that across the board, and that's what we need to scale as a company. Right now we're headquartered in New York. We have offices in San Francisco and Austin, and basically we're trying to organically grow those sales teams. And from a control of pricing standpoint and taking that through the pricing process, there's just a need for putting controls around it. And then just kind of as a segue to that, a lot of our competitors will do things like regional pricing, and they'll have different pricings per region. Not something that we do currently, but Steelbrick will allow us to have the controls in place for something like that down the road without just calling your manager and saying, so how do I adjust the pricing when I'm speaking to somebody in this place? And then as a last part to that, we offer a ton of different features at Namely: HR, talent management, onboarding, payroll, benefits, brokerage services. And there's various bundles that get involved, and it gets kind of complicated even for a salesperson to be able to understand the bundling, what gets included, what doesn't. So putting Steelbrick in is putting the controls in place so that there's no confusion. It is what it is. Again, not the sexiest app, but...
No, but I think that's a really good point, especially, you guys would, certainly be a younger company than, say, Salesforce, but, as you're on that fast growth path and you're building a platform now, not just a product, that level of complexity gets introduced, and who knows acquisitions happen, and then you're pulling in other entire product lines from other companies. Certainly something that you guys would know about,
Yeah.
including Steelbrick.
Yeah, and I think to finish the thought is just this approach of consistency, right? So making sure that something that's going out has a consistent look and feel. So my favorite apps are sort of back to basics, is in that email productivity suite. So the Yeswares, the Serious Insights, the Salesforce IQ inboxes of the world. And for me and for my sellers, I think the approach is really, how do I make it as easy as possible to get email, which is, email's not going anywhere. That's how we are still engaging with our customers. How do we, get that into Salesforce so that we retain institutional knowledge for meaningful conversations, not for every conversation? And then how do you start to think about and innovate on things that are a little bit more predictive? Who's opening your email, right? So the stalkers among us who just want to know who's actually showing interest. And then, in IQ, we have features like now calendaring, which my reps and our SDRs tell us save a ton of time because you're not sort of back and forth in email on just getting a meeting scheduled. So for us, it's a huge productivity driver and a huge adoption driver for making sure that everything's getting into CRM.
I'll chime in there. The calendar feature in the Salesforce IQ inbox connector is probably my favorite improvement that's been made to Salesforce in the last year.
Wow. Yeah.
How about you?
So I think in the same vein, relative to productivity, I think my favorite app is Tout app, and it's an email productivity app that has similar features to probably some of the Yeswares or the Salesforce IQs of the world. But what I love about it is not only are you able to start tracking interactions, but automatically logging and helping create those cadences in which you interact with your customers. Scheduling the reminder to call someone. I think we can all agree that follow up is the key to being really successful in sales. And I think there's oftentimes people just they let the follow up go, or they'll forget to have that right kind of message or reminder. In addition to that, especially when scaling, I'm scaling a newer sales development team, as people are starting to learn the pitch, and they're learning more about the way that our messaging and how we interact with our customers, having the ability to have templates ready to go at any time that they're able to pull from a library that not only do I create, but our marketing team, and so they have consistent messaging across the team. So in an instant, they could say, hey, I have a customer or a potential prospect that indicated maybe this buying sign or is using this technology. How do I respond to that? And having a template ready to go, and then creating that cadence automatically with them. And then back to kind of that institutional knowledge. We have a very large land and expand model, and understanding all of those interactions with every contact is very important to our business. And we have to understand, again, back to, I don't think anyone likes logging emails, and taking that just out of the back of your mind that you never have to log an email ever again, and still see those interactions with customers is really, really important from start to finish.
So how did Tout app get deployed at your company?
Yeah, so I've been a Tout app user for probably like 3.5 years over different organizations, and I wanted to, I brought Tout app in to kind of bring efficiency, obviously, to the sales team, and we started with a smaller kind of I would call it like a control group, right? And 5 or 6 people really adopted Tout and started using it, and then people were like, wow, I don't have to log my emails into Salesforce anymore, and they're like, oh, where can I get that template? And it still happened, so it happened really organically. The next question was, can I get a Tout license? And then it started not only in sales, but now it's in account management. Our customer success team is now using it. Our finance team is using it for invoicing and AR. And then even our data and onboarding teams are using it to automate kickoff calls and some of the templatized language that they use to engage with customers and prospects.
So in your case, I mean, on the other side of the fence, how are you seeing companies deploy something like Salesforce IQ? How is that reaching out? Inbox connector in this case, not former related IQ, but.
Yeah, no, for sure. So I think your point is a great one, that oftentimes some of these things happen organically. Before we even had IQ, there were tons of reps around, who had the Yeswares of the world and the Seriouses of the world, because they either knew it from a prior role or they were clamoring for things like that. But in the small business space, we see A, the organic piece, B, the word of mouth piece, and see sort of the ratings approach, which is, figuring out where the highly rated ones are and what's the low-hanging fruit, right? What can you solve sort of overnight by leveraging, add-on products. Things like how do I go map my territory before a visit, right? And so there's just things out there that people find and then, quickly can deploy them and show quick wins, which I think is a big thing.
And I mean, for you two, the examples you gave, I mean, those are not happening organically. Like, that would be a fairly high-level decision being made, right?
Correct.
Yeah. Just touching on that, I mean, it absolutely was top-down from the standpoint of our CFO and head of sales both. The only organic aspect I would say would be that as new experienced sales reps came on, they said, I can't believe you don't have this.
Right.
That was the only aspect of like, oh my gosh, wait, we probably should do something differently. But absolutely top-down approach of, especially from the finance side of things, just pushing to have consistency and pushing to have standardization across the board, which is just going to be really key heading into the end of this year. So it was absolutely top-down though, from more driven from finance, but been embraced by our sales reps.
And how about you, Richard?
Yeah, I mean, we have a pretty awesome sales ops group, and we're lucky in that sense because that group, brought in Distribution Engine, partnered with the sales leaders to determine how we were going to utilize it at first, but even since then have been, really vocal and active in figuring out how to get more value from it. And so I think the initial decision to bring it in was a no-brainer. We were scaling very fast. We needed that governor to help us decide what was going where. But what I'm really excited about is how we're using it today, actually, and how we've evolved since we first brought it on.
Very cool. Okay, so we're all salespeople. I'm a former marketing guy, reformer marketing guy. Rumor is that sales and marketing don't always get along, and there's some friction in that relationship. And I hear from time to time customer success and training and customer support teams. Rumor has it sometimes sales are promising things that might be hard to deliver. So keeping all that in mind, how are you using apps to align those different teams? Because there is friction in those relationships.
For us, actually we have customer service built into the sales organization. So this is one group as opposed to disparate groups. And in fact, using something like Distribution Engine and some other things that we utilize, it gives them the ability to talk to each other in real time with accurate data, as opposed to, oh yeah, I forgot to tell you last week about that customer that wanted that thing, whatever it is. And frankly, our relationship to marketing is somewhat nascent for my group. And so, we are in fact putting together a really robust lead gen framework and demand gen. And I think, when I think about Eloqua and actually layering Distribution Engine on top of that, it's a 1-2 punch that, again, it just ensures removing the complexity from the day-to-day and just kind of automating that. And then, of course, frankly, providing accountability for both orgs, right? So you don't have to call someone out and say, you said, right? Instead, it's all there.
I like it. Kevin?
Yeah, sure. So obviously not a new app that no one's ever heard of, but Slack is one that we use quite extensively across all departments. Every department has an open channel. I actually encourage all of my reps to not participate in, but to go in and view and keep an eye on the client success channel, keep an eye on the professional services channel, just to see what kind of conversations are going on and see how people are interacting and be aware of what problems they're facing, because that can help us on the other side of things. But Slack absolutely, from a leverage standpoint, is being used across all departments and helping our organization work with each other. And each sales rep align with a client success person should there be a reason for them to discuss something for whatever reason.
And how about you?
So, I think this is something that Salesforce ourselves has been giving a lot of thought to, and when we acquired ExactTarget and Pardot, and because Pardot has already been natively integrated, we actually launched a product called Engage, which really sort of empowered the sales teams to take the marketing automation piece to the next level. And I think that's really sort of the future for us and for everyone, just this idea of how do I, A, have accountability, right, for sure, and so what does the lead process look like, how do we know when leads are passed, and we have real strong SLAs around that and always have. And then how do you empower your sales reps with the right controls to start thinking about how to leverage marketing in a way that offloads the work that the marketing teams don't necessarily want or need to be doing, and really drive that, you know, closed loop to then obviously measure the ROI.
Jeremiah?
I think ours is you know, with the invention of marketing automation and kind of bringing, you know, all these great messages to our customers, sometimes it leaves salespeople feeling like they're in the dark about, you know, what exactly is going out or what's the last communication. Obviously, as a scaling organization that's scaling very quickly, right? There's lots of different segments, different types of targeted messaging. You really want to understand. So we've implemented Marketo Sales Insights to truly understand what kind of interactions that you know, our marketing team is having with, you know, prospective leads and, you know, even customers, and then understanding how they've engaged with that. And we use that as a tool. If they do engage with, you know, one of those marketing emails, that will be a leading indicator to someone on the sales development team to reach out or, you know, to generate a higher lead score for them to continue to flow in the funnel there. So I think just increasing, you know, using that tool to increase transparency. You know, sometimes the briefs from marketing kind of get, you know, fall to the wayside in your own inbox if you just focus on prospects. And so just being able to quickly go inside of a lead record and understand, you know, exactly the communication that's been had.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
So a lot of apps were talked about today. If you are in some of the ones that were talked about, there's a bit.ly link at the bottom. I don't think they're all on there if you go to that bit.ly link, but it'll probably get updated. But certainly some of them would be there if you want to check them out. And now I think, unless somebody forces us to leave, we have time for a few more questions. So do we have a mic in the audience?
Not just shout.
Okay, so if you have a question, stand up and right here. Oh.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Janet, CEO from Talent Browser. We're early stage, but have 3 patents and trying to keep a small team so we don't have to bring in those VCs, but become highly effective using some of these tools. Yesware, yeah, I like it. If you were starting out a company with a small team but a brilliant technology, what would you say you should start out with? And then grow from there. We don't have Salesforce. I use Outlook and Yesware. I'm looking at Smart Spring, is it? I think it's Smart Spring. I'm trying to figure out, should I bring in marketing automation tools? Should I bring in these lead gen tools? What the hell makes sense for this stage? And then, you know, that it can grow.
I'll let them give the unbiased answer to
I
that.
think the first tool that you should always bring in is some sort of CRM.
Yeah.
Right? So 100%. Living out of folders.
100% consensus on that. Everybody agrees.
A little louder, because
Yeah.
I
A CRM.
A CRM
I
should
want
be
to
the
write
very
it down.
first tool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Whether it's a Salesforce, which I would highly recommend.
Yeah, I know we're
or
at Salesforce today, but
Yeah, or some other kind of tool.
I'm going to hit the desk over there, don't worry.
There you go.
Right?
Yeah,
What
it's exact same. Either Salesforce or another CRM. You have to have a CRM. That's step one before anything else.
So let's say I get that next week.
Okay.
Then what?
So then the piece that I would add on to that is that once you are a Salesforce customer, literally half of the apps on our app exchange, which is sort of that iTunes store for the enterprise, are free. So start with the free apps, right? And then think about, as you heard from some of these other folks, what are then some of the things that your team, albeit small, are clamoring for, or what are needs that you're trying to plug and play. And once you're a Salesforce customer, you can then think about that in the context of just another app in one integrated system.
How big do you think, one more question to follow up, thank you, it's very helpful. How big do you think a team needs to be before you're looking at the need for marketing automation? Is it useful for a small team?
I mean, I'll take that. Yes, it is. But I think I would actually state that question maybe in the other way. I think as soon as you have a CRM in place, and let's assume you have a robust website with great content, you need that marketing automation to nurture your customers, your prospects. But if you do that right, you're going to need the large team, right? The scaling the team will come automatically by virtue of the desire to respond to all of those form fills, to address all those customers' questions, and to actually be responsive to your market. Otherwise, that investment is for naught, and you're actually developing a negative reputation as opposed to a positive.
Chicken egg, right?
To add on to that, I was probably the 13th or 14th employee at Namely. When I joined, we had Salesforce, we had marketing automation, we had email automation all in place, and we had about 3 sales reps.
Okay, cool.
So it kind of build the foundation and then hire people from there.
As an add-on to that, you know, again, don't work for Salesforce. Certainly not beholden to the App Exchange, but if you do choose Salesforce as your CRM, and I've chosen it at a couple of different companies now, on the App Exchange, there's a series of apps made by Salesforce Labs. You know, they're Salesforce employees who come up with really, really good ideas that they think should be available to people, and they're all free. So the Salesforce Dashboard Pack is probably the best free app that you can get. If you get Salesforce, you should download that one the day that you get Salesforce.
Awesome. Thank you.
Okay? Do we have time for one more? No? Yes? Maybe? No? Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much, folks.
Thank you.
We can hang around if you guys want to ask questions.
Yeah, we'll be available if people have questions. They're all going to sit together very close on one of these chairs, but
Thanks, you guys, and thanks for making yourself available for a couple minutes. They're going to get their mics off, and then you can chat with them here. Oh, yeah, thanks. So we have a 5-minute break. It's probably down to 4 minutes at this point, or it looks like the timer says 2. And then we're going to be doing our demo jams. So if you weren't here earlier, I'm going to explain what a demo jam is because it's so fun. The demo jam is 6 of amazing partners. These are technologies they were just talking about. Technologies that are, some of them available in the App Exchange. All of them are, pardon me. They're going to come up here, all 6, and they're going to do a 3-minute demo. 3 minutes each, and they get 3 minutes to win your attention and your love and your respect. At the end of that, they're going to be able to vote on who was the best, and they're going to win a prize. So it's lots of fun. But why is it important that you go? It's not important that you go because it's fun. It's important because you're going to get to see these technologies in action and understand how they'd be valuable to your sales organization. So we're going to set up the stage, and we'll get started here in just a minute or two. Thanks so much for joining us today at the breakout stage. Look forward to having you here for the demo jam.